Welcome back into the podcast. We are back in season 3, episode 4, continuing our series on barriers to healing. We have talked about in the first episode just a little about some things that sometimes we think are barriers to healing, aka root causes, but really aren't. And we sort of unpack that. And then we went on to food sensitivities. We've talked about immune burdens. And in this episode, we're going to continue the series with chemicals and how they play a part in sort of, causing our body not to be able to heal if they're present. And this is a really good topic. I love this topic because I think sometimes when this whole non-toxic sort of movement and holistic health, it can get a little overwhelming for sure. And I know that I have felt overwhelmed at times, and I don't know anybody that really hasn't. And so I think it's important to know the why behind why these things matter, and then just to have a little knowledge to take some action, right? It doesn't need to be this overwhelming thing, but I think it's important to also know, hey, this does matter and this is why it matters. And so that's what we're going to kind of chat about in this episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited too. Like this is something that we probably hear a lot about, but maybe don't fully understand how it interferes, kind of with
Yeah.
healing. And so
So
I'm
if you're rolling your eyes, maybe just stick
yeah,
around. I get it. It is overwhelming, right? The thing is, these things matter, but I think we can go way overboard and create so much fear that is
yeah,
actually worse than the chemicals
yes,
themselves, right? That's
right.
totally a thing. So maybe land somewhere in the middle. Like it does matter, but we're gonna have exposure. So I
Yes.
think it's important.
So let's talk about the exposure first, because a lot of us, I do see people in person and test a lot of people, and chemicals come up very, very often. And I'll tell you which ones I see most often. Um, Plastics come up often. Chemical additives come up often. BPA. So BPA is found in the liner of like cans and in to-go foods. And then personal care products and pesticides. Those are the ones that I see over and over and over. Vinyl chlorides will come up occasionally. Vinyl chlorides are an air pollution. So when they produce vinyl, vinyl chloride is a byproduct of that. Um, and so what happens, is we are really designed to get rid of these toxins on a daily basis, right? Um, we create our own metabolic waste just by breathing, eating, etc. We have to get rid of hormones. We have to get rid of digestion byproducts like ammonia through the urine, carbon dioxide through the lungs. So we're designed to get rid of this stuff. The problem is, there's probably 80,000 chemicals now produced here in the States, and it's not regulated really. Um, Obviously it is, but not as much as Europe and other countries. And so we just, especially glycophosphates, that's probably the one that I see that has the most detrimental effects in impairing healing, is glycophosphates, which are Roundup that they spray on almost all the conventional wheat. And I would say 95% of people are eating conventional wheat.
Yeah.
So that becomes critical, especially for the liver. So let's just talk about our body's pathways to detoxify these, right? So um, our liver was designed, it has a couple pathways. It's called the cytochrome P450 pathway in the liver to really what's called conjugate or make these molecules not reactive. So it puts a compound on them to make it not reactive, and then we excrete them through our bowels. Really, that's ideally what happens. The
Mhm.
problem is a lot of us aren't eating the foods that support those detox pathways in the liver. So sulfur is a big one. We need sulfur compounds to help detoxify. So your cruciferous veggies have those sulfur compounds. So like Brussels sprouts, kale, broccoli, cauliflower, those are super important. They have things like sulforaphane, if you've heard that word.
Mhm.
These are sulfur-based compounds that help the liver detoxify. We don't eat high antioxidant quote food. So things that help with oxidative stress. So your colors, like blueberries and, red peppers, things like that have that rich color. Those have antioxidants. Those antioxidants literally help detox in the liver. And then lastly, protein. Proteins, the building blocks of protein, amino acids, we specifically use amino acids in the liver to detox compounds. That's
Mm.
why protein is just so
Yeah.
vital for us because it's one of the ways that we detox. So liver is just that's most people are familiar with the liver, but your kidneys detox, your lungs detox, your
Hmm.
lymph moving, right?
Yeah.
We have lymph movement, and that's why it's really important that we're moving, walking every day, rebounding if you can to move the lymph. Um, so the blood purifies. Everybody thinks that, sometimes if you do a liver detox, you're good to go. But
Yeah.
that's only one organ in the symphony of detox organs. You detox at a cellular level too. There's something called glutathione
Mhm.
that is produced. And that's super, super important so that each cell can detoxify. Because if the cells aren't detoxifying, then the organ isn't working as a whole because those cells are backed up, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
The good stuff can't get in and the bad stuff can't get out. And so those cells are backed up, and then the cells that make up that organ can't work. And so that organ's not working. So that's why these environmental toxins become super important is they will create havoc in each of these organs and the cell's ability to just produce energy even.
Right.
Um, so we need to address all levels of detox, not just liver, not just colon, not just skin, not just lymph. We need to use all of those together, really.
Yeah.
Um, and we need to address specifics. Our best way to, sort of deal with the chemicals is to avoid them as much as possible. And that's, I think, where, we've gotten maybe a little bit carried away. You can only do what you
Yeah.
can do. I mean, we're literally swimming in a sea of toxins. I mean, not to be a downer, but we are. Synthetic, or what they call xenoestrogens, which are, synthetic estrogens, the glycophosphates, the plastics, yeah. So what we need to do is just eat the foods really that support detoxification, and when necessary, supplement those pathways either in the liver, in the cell, in the lymph, however we can to really support, removal of these toxins.
Yeah, and just to think about, obviously, we've become, I know I have in the last, I don't know, 12 or 13 years, let's say, become more and more aware of these things. And so I've cut out more and more things. But sometimes it's when we have clients that come, these are old exposures that are showing up as your body really can't get rid of the things that it maybe has been exposed to in the past. Maybe somebody comes and they're having issues and we determine it's chemicals and they're like, oh, I've just eliminated all of these things and I eat so much better than I used to. And so it's a kind of a both and. Sometimes it's the fact of you need to support your body's ability to get rid of things that you were exposed to before that it couldn't get rid of. And then you also need to make sure that you're not being exposed to, certain things if they're really if they come up as being a real issue for you. You just need to look at maybe take a closer look to see maybe you don't even realize that eating out of cans there was BPA in there. Just little things like that. So we just really help to give people specific guidance on that whenever we work with them. But
Yeah, I have
chemicals
a
are,
story about that. I have a story
yeah,
about that.
go
So
ahead.
I had this lady, we could not get her thyroid working.
Hmm.
And I'm testing her, and we're checking all the toxins, and tobacco comes up, and she's never smoked a day in her life. But now she's 63. Her parents smoked, both of them growing up.
Mm,
So the tobacco was
yeah,
showing from 40 years, 50 years prior.
yeah. Because if our body can't get rid of it and it doesn't know what to do with it, it just kind of tucks it away. Like, what
And
else
it's
is it
that
supposed to do, right?
right, right. So that's important. If you're losing weight, it tucks these toxins away in fat tissue
Yeah.
as to not affect, critical organs. So if you're, doing weight loss, it becomes even more important that these detox pathways are working.
Right, for sure. That's why people can drop weight whenever they start sort of, you know, unburdening their body and helping it to do what it was trying to do in the first place. It's just usually a natural byproduct of that that you would come to a good weight for you because you're getting rid of things that have been stored there for years, probably because your body just didn't know what to do with it. And your body's wired for survival. So if it, right, it wants to tuck it away so that your organs can work better. So your body's not messing up, but again, we're just trying to kind of peel back the layers, unburden it, and just allow it to do what it's trying to do. So,
Yeah,
well,
and speaking of weight loss, you'll see if you see some graphs like the increase of organic phosphates over the last 50 years trends almost exactly with the increase in weight
wow.
for and metabolic health for the United States. So as the chemicals were increasing, weight gain was increasing also, which shows you
Right.
these do really play a part in metabolic
Yeah,
health. So
for sure.
it's an either and I should say. So anyway,
Sure.
thanks so much for listening. We're really excited that you're here. We hope you're learning something about these burdens because these barriers to healing are the root cause of a lot of what's happening in the body, and it's just not addressed in mainstream. And so we hope this
Yeah.
is enlightening for you. We can't wait to continue the series and continue our barriers to healing. So see you on the next episode.